بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا وآتوا اليتامى أموالهم ولا تتبدلوا الخبيث بالطيب ولا تأكلوا أموالهم إلى أموالكم إنه كان حوبا كبيرا صدق الله العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. My dear respected brothers, elders, the verses of the Holy Quran that I have recited are the opening verses of Surah An-Nisa. Surah An-Nisa, which immediately comes after Surah Al-Imran. Inshallah, tonight in Salatul Taraweeh, we have a little bit of Surah An-Nisa which is remaining, and then we will begin from Surah Al-Ma'idah. So the aim is, in this short time that we have, to a glimpse, a brief summary of Surah An-Nisa. Surah An-Nisa, like the previous surahs, is also a Madani surah revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam during the Madani period. Surah An-Nisa consists of 176 verses. As you can see now, we are coming down. Surah Baqarah 286 verses. Then we went down Surah Al Imran 200. Now we've come down to 176. That doesn't mean that Taraweeh prayer will be shorter. Taraweeh prayer inshallah will be the same time, but the surahs, now they're coming down slowly. Sometimes it'll take 2 days to finish one surah. But now we're coming slowly, inshallah, where when we listen to the Quran, we'll have one complete surah, then we might have 2, then 3. Then the time will come, inshallah, where you'll do 20 or more than that in one day. Just coming on to Taraweeh, sometimes brothers find it a little difficult to stand. You know, the reward that you will get. Just yesterday we were working it out with the Hufad. We sat down and we worked out, on average. Now look, we spent a bit of time working this out, and I want to share this with you. Those that are sitting here, those that struggle to stand. You know, apart from the elders, we know these brothers here that 80 plus that stand, salam to their legs, you know. I can't imagine being that old and I'd be able to stand. I don't think I'd be able to lay down and pray how they're going today. We can't even, they're legends. How they can stand, I don't know. Wallahu a'lam. Allah has given them that strength. But for the youth, if we are struggling to stand, just think, 8 minutes per unit. How much units do we have? 10. 8 minutes. 10 sets of 2 rakats. 8 minutes per average we worked out per 2 rakats. In 8 minutes, just say you're becoming a billionaire. Not even a billionaire, not even the right figure, but I'm just for example purpose. In 8 minutes, you're becoming a billionaire. And you want to become a billionaire again, stand up again, do 2 rakats. And again until you complete your 10. 10 sets meaning 20 rakats, not 10 rakats. 10 sets complete your 20. Every two you stand up, just think that I'm becoming a new billionaire again in deeds. And as 8 minutes, you don't even takes longer than that to drink a cup of tea. And just to get things set in the gym, picking up weights, getting everything right, balancing the body. 8 minutes on your phone, think. It's nothing. So just think, every time I stand up, right, I'm ready to become a billionaire over again. And inshallah, as you get into it, obviously it does get harder, 14, 16 rakats, just like when you're in the gym, you're doing reps, The first two is not going to be like 8 and 9. There is going to be some sounds and there is going to be some aches in the body. But inshallah, you're doing this for the sake of Allah. You'll get a lot of reward, billions in your account. So just think, one set 8 minutes, that's all it is. And again, you're going to become a billionaire again in terms of reward. As we're coming now, when the first few days of Ramadan, everyone's hyped up and ready. Then when we get a few days go by, then we get used to things. Then what happens? Think, is it really worth me missing on this reward? So Surah Nisa 176 ayat verses Madani Surah. Nisa is giving it away what the topic is about, is ladies. Imra'a comes for one woman, imra'atan, imra'atain for two. Nisa is the plural word, meaning Allah has mentioned about ahkams related to women in this surah, which means 2 surahs in the Quran, I mention this every year, at the bare minimum for ladies, if they cannot study the entire Quran, 2 surahs in detail, they should aim to study, because it's about ahkams related to women. Number 1 is Surah Nisa. Number 2 is Surah Nur, which is in Para 18. Ahkams have come in both. Allah has mentioned about ladies and the ahkamats that are related to them. So likewise in this surah also, we will learn about ahkams of ladies, ahkams of orphans, yatim. Now what happens in the society? The Quran is very sensitive with the rules related to orphans. Those that are taking care of orphans, make sure their wealth is protected, because this orphan has lost the most valuable person in their life that would worry about their upbringing, about their education, about their future, is a father. Love is the mother. You cannot compare the mother's love that she has for the child. That's why examples are given, the love that the mother has. But overall, taking care of that child, their education, future, tarbiyah, is the role of the dad. And if a child before reaching the age of puberty loses their father, then in Islamic term they call yatim. But once you go past that boundary, meaning you have become mature, you have become baligh, now you are no longer a yatim. Otherwise then there'll be yatims everywhere. So it's till that age that you reach the age of puberty. That's what ulama mention, is people, if someone feels their heart has become hard, nothing is affecting, then ulama has mentioned, put your hand on the hair, on the head of a yatim, an orphan. This will soften your heart. Taking care of orphans is a big reward. My friend, one of my classmates that was studying with me, he's working for a charity, it's called Lonely Orphans. Where they just focus on orphans. Taking care of orphans is a very sensitive matter. The Quran in this surah has mentioned, anyone that messes around with the wealth of the orphan, they're filling their belly with the fire of hell, with the fire of Jahannam. Or they are not spending the wealth correctly, or deceiving them because their fathers passed away, they are at a young age, using their wealth, from one place to the other, putting them in loss, etc. So their wealth should be taken care of. Also, Allah has mentioned. This first surah, I don't know if any of you remember when your nikah was done, whoever did your nikah, this surah in the khutbah, there are 3 verses which is sunnah to read. And one of them is Surah Nisa, the opening verse. Then you have Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha haqqa tuqatih. And the 3rd verse, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida. In the khutbah of nikah, these 3 verses are recited. The first verse, Surah Nisa. Because Allah is reminding you about taqwa. Be conscious. What does taqwa mean? That Allah is watching me when I'm doing my business, when I'm at home with my family. If I'm smiling with friends, seating them, come on, let's have a drink, have a cup of tea. Soon as I come home, there's no one watching me now. There's no CCTV. Friends are not there. Now the mood changes when you enter your house. All the stiffness, stubbornness, harshness, bad character, bad behavior. Everyone has their ups and downs at times, but general, why is the change? So Allah wants us to be fearful because there's the slightest details are not discussed in nikah. You have basic things which you ask someone, okay, this is what you have, this is your job, what do you do? But no one comes and asks, okay, if my daughter does something wrong, what is the temperature of your anger going to be? 20%, 50%, 80%, or what are you going to do? How are you going to react? Is anyone going to ask that? No. It's your taqwa that you have. How are you going to react and what are you going to do? If you go extreme, you're going to answer to Allah. So Allah is reminding us that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the last thing he went before he departed this world, he said, be mindful of ladies and their huquq and their rights. So we have to be careful. Domestic violence, if you look, is happening so much. Non-Muslims, we know how the case is there. Soon as England loses, the rate of domestic violence goes so high. If they can't see anyone, they just beat their own partner up to take things out. But as Muslims, you can see what is the domestic violence hitting. Allahu Akbar. For no reason. Nowadays you might find the ladies that hit men, but no man will ever say that, so we don't know. But we know from one side where men, they can get violent sometimes. A man is not the one who becomes angry and lashes out and thinks, right, let me get my gloves on. What did you say? A man is the one that can control his anger. This is a definition that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave. لَيْسَ الشَّدِيدُ بِالسُّرْعَةِ. The one that can knock someone to the ground is not the one who is powerful. إِنَّمَا الشَّدِيدُ الَّذِي يَمْلِكُ نَفْسَهُ عِنْدَ الْغَضَبِ. The one who is strong is who can control his nafs at the time of anger. This is where many of us fail. That's why Allah has given authority to the man. Because he's stable. Control yourself at the time of anger. If you know you're going to do something wrong, then go out. Then the topic comes regarding nikah. The youth's favorite topic. When you ask them, get married, they say it's not the right time yet. But they like discussing the topic. فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ. Allah mentions about nikah, that this is a choice, that you can marry 2, 3, or 4. So that is a permission that has been granted, that you can marry up to 4. That is a cutoff point. And also, Allah has mentioned, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا فَوَاحِدًا. If you become faithful, you can't fulfill rights, then what do? Then just stick to one. Now some people go the topic of marrying more than one. Some people, there's 2 extremes. There's one extreme that totally try and, say no, it cannot be done, etc. And then there's one extreme where they totally promote this to the extent where they might not be fulfilling rights properly. So the middle ground is that you have to acknowledge Allah has granted this permission, but this is not for everyone. It might not be for most. But there are some people that can that are good, that are practicing. Do you get more good people or less good people? Less, we all would agree. Then some that Allah has given wealth to. And then the ratio between men and women, near the time of the day of Qiyamah, there's going to be 50 women to one man. And even now, in some countries, every other households, brothers tell me they have six daughters, girls, in one household. So who Allah has given this ability to, and with the right reason, and they fulfill their hukuk. On the other hand, if you are not from them, then don't. Otherwise, you will really struggle. When you understand the concept, and you have the right reasons behind, then you have to understand. So both extremes should not be. Some people totally ignore this and think, right, no. If it's not for you, it does not mean that you totally ignore. You have to understand that there's less good men in the society. So them less good men that are there's so many women that are divorced, so many that have lost their husbands, and the widows, so many that cannot find the right match to get married. So what's going to happen to them? The solution is only this, what Islam's given. But that, with understanding the whole concept of this properly. And as the majority, they won't be able to do that, then one. فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا, you can't be just, then فَوَاحِدَةً, then one. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned about miras, inheritance, in the second ruku. Allahu Akbar. And then people say that Islam has oppressed women. Islam has been the biggest that speaks about women's rights. Before the days of ignorance, there was no concept of ladies having a share in inheritance. What did the Arabs say? He said they cannot even sit on the back of a horse. They cannot ride a horse. They have no share in inheritance. They cannot pick up a sword. They have no share in inheritance. They cannot stand and face the enemy. They've got no share in inheritance. Islam came and said no. These are the shares which the Quran has mentioned. For the daughter, for the son. Now if you start getting into technical, why does the boy have double and the girl have, then again, Allah has given different responsibilities to men. They have financial more burden. So they have more responsibilities. Whereas the wife, she is under the care of her husband. So these are shares which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has fixed. But this comes after a person's passed away, not while in a person's lifetime. If you are in your lifetime and you think that I'll give double to my sons and one to my daughter, no, because this comes under hadiyah. So when it's hadiyah, then now you need to give it equal to all of them, the same if it's in your lifetime. This miras ruling is when a person's passed away and the wealth is there. Now the sharia is fixed. The wife will get this much, the son will get double, the daughter will get this much, etc. And in some places where people, they may have spent a little on their sister or at the time of marriage, and they say, oh, you've got no share in miras. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. If you take even 1 penny, 1 pound, and it's the right of your sister, your mother, and you don't give her that right, that share, wallah, on the day of Qiyamah, you may lose everything that you have. And nowadays, people comfortably don't give it to their sister, or they blackmail them. Because people tell me something like, one lady was saying, my brother said to me, dad has passed away. He's got some money. Do you want some of that? Look, this is how they put it there. She's already grieving, her dad has passed away. And then you say, okay, there's some money there. Do you want some of this? How would the daughter feel? Such a wrong way to put this out. That's her right. which Allah has given in the Quran. So how can you refuse from this? So it has to be given. It's a must. Even then, ulamas mention if they say we don't want it, give it to them. They can decide what they want to do with it. Because inside, yes, they do. So don't think, okay, I'll take qabza of that, right? I've got myself a bit more because they've said, no, we don't want it. They're going through that emotional time. After then, they would give it to them and then let them decide what they want to do with it. But eating up the wealth, the inheritance of their share, a person's filling in his belly the fire of Jahannam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all. Allah also mentions, وَعَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, be kind to them. It's very important, one of the things that being respectful, kind to your wife. And Allah is telling us to do this. The kings of all kings, the master of all masters, He is telling us be kind to them, be good to them. But then there's times that the Quran also mentions that the men are the caretakers, providers, protectors. Allah has given them authority. الرِّجَالُ قَوَّامُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ. Allah has given the authority to the man. Why? Because to take care of them. Provide for them, take care of them. But then there is times where if the ladies do not listen, then how do you go about things? You don't just think that, get your gloves on, this is the only way that we're going to get this solved. No, the Quran has mentioned the 3 things that you do. وَاللَّاتِي تَخَافُونَ نُشُوزَهُنَّ. When you fear, you become fearful that they're not listening in a matter which is about deen, Islam or something, then the first step is فَعِذُوهُنَّ, give them nasiha. Not taunt. Tana, as we say. In there with taunting, give nasiha. فَعِذُوهُنَّ. If this does not work, step number 2, وَهْجُرُوهُنَّ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ, separate your bedding. Sleep in another room. Maybe that will work. They understand that some things, ahkams that have been broken, or if they've gone to that this is not acceptable. And the third stage is discipline. Now, not as hitting as we think. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his entire life, he never hit any of his wives. And he had more than 4. Not a single one. He was very kind. He was very gentle. So these are the stages that we go. And if there's any differences between the husband and wife, then the Quran mentions, فَبَعَثُوا حَكَمًا مِّنْ أَهْلِهِ وَحَكَمًا مِّنْ أَهْلِهَا. Bring one person from the boy's side, one from the girl's side, discuss this, talk about it, and try and solve. And maybe this, if you try it this way, inshallah, things will get better. So these are all things that the Quran has mentioned. وَعْبُدُ اللَّهِ. In this verse, Allah says, worship Allah. Do not associate any partners with Allah. Be kind to your parents. Immediately after the rights of Allah, Allah has mentioned the rights of parents. Huququl ibad. After the rights of Allah, Allah has mentioned without any delay, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, be kind to your parents, to your neighbors, to the needy, to the orphans. Take care of them. Also in this surah, the ahkams related to fighting in Allah's path. What is the purpose? When and how is protection for the society? People that are living, protecting the ladies, protecting the children. So these ahkams have been mentioned. I'll stop here in Surah Nisa. So if you understand these ahkams, and inshallah practice upon them and also spread them onto others, May Allah give us ability to understand and to spread it unto others. Ameen. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.